Hey guys, what is going on? We have some huge updates for Long Fallen Dynasty in the version 1.07 update. There are huge changes, and I mean big, and these are great for the game overall. And this is just going to be an absolute wonderful experience because you're going to see all these changes that they made this week, and they're big. So we're just going to jump right into these. They added features and added a function allowing players to carry over their battle flag and marking flag progress when returning to a previously completed battlefield. Meaning, once you go into a battlefield, you're going to have all of your battle flags there. So in case you want to go and run and rerun, let's say, a boss or something like that, if you've previously completed a battlefield, you are not going to need to redo the entire thing from scratch. This is like huge because this was the pain point for, I know, most players who wanted to play and go play against certain bosses and do certain boss fights. You have to rerun the entire level from scratch, which is kind of annoying. This option can be enabled or disabled via the travel menu by choosing which battlefield to return to, so you can turn this option on and off, and when enabled, some of the shortcuts such as doors and ladders will have been unlocked by default. So if you've completed a level and you have these options both turned on, you're going to be able to already have the level completed, have all of the ladders and doors and opened, everything like that, right? So you're going to be able to go through these levels and fight the bosses and stuff that you want and not have a problem. This is the huge change here that I absolutely love for the longevity of the game. They added diagrams to the Learn Wizardry spell screen, the Set Wizardry spell screen, and 5-phase affinities under tutorial. So they actually put tutorial stuff allowing players to better understand the affinity and how it works between all of the 5 phases. They added functions to the online lobby recruit and recruit ally screens, allowing players to part ways with companions easier, and added 5 virtues to the tutorial screen. Overall, some of the bigger adjustments they made adjustments to deflect and a lot of other ones. They made the deflect adjustments. They made upward adjustments to the shrinking of the spirit gauge's lower limits and downward adjustments to the spirit damage dealt upon successfully performing deflect. Weapon categories, they made a ton of weapon adjustments. And I'm not going to go over all of them individually, but as you can see, they optimized the timing for deflects in certain scenarios. They increased spirit damage for certain weapons. And this is an all weapons category, and they decreased the boost in spirit attack power when spirit is high. So overall, they increased the spirit damage dealt with spirit attacks, which makes sense because that's the whole point, right? And a lot of individual damage buffs and nerfs. So they improved turnaround times between a lot of different weapons. They shortened the startup sequence of normal attacks for some weapons like the sword, meaning you're going to be able to attack a little bit quicker and not get in that animation that doesn't really allow you to do anything because there's a quick, millisecond dead pause in there. They increased the movement distance of the first swing of normal attacks for higher weapons and bigger weapons like the halberd, and shortened recovery sequences between normal combo attacks, and increased the movement distance of the follow-up spirit attack after a normal attack, and optimized the hitbox. So they optimize a lot of different hitbox items for weapons, as well as a lot of different stats for these weapons and timing and everything to basically make the game overall feel smoother and the combat feel more involved and much more smooth on its own. They made a ton of martial arts changes. All martial arts except Thunderous Impact and Tiger Tail Lash are going to experience these changes of increased spirit damage dealt, meaning that these martial arts are going to be doing more spirit damage given, except for these two, obviously. And that's good because martial arts is the whole point of the martial art abilities is to do spirit damage to enemies. And before it was still fine, but I think this is a good change considering that's what the whole thing's meant for. It almost sometimes wasn't advantageous to use them against bosses just because you could just do the same amount of damage with normal attacks over time. And like I said, a lot of these martial arts got actual buffs and changes. You can see here there are a ton of individual changes for these. Again, I'm not going to go over every single one of these, but a lot of them, if not every single one, got changes or buffs to them to improve the overall quality of martial arts. Again, wizardry spells, there are a ton of changes to wizardry spells. So wizardry spells are essentially buffed for the most part. A lot of these are received reduced spirit consumption, meaning you're going to be able to cast spells much more quickly and much more often. And I believe some of these actually allow you now with the timing changes to actually perform them quicker, meaning there's not as much of a lag or stick animation when you go to cast a spell itself, meaning it's going to cast a little bit quicker. and be a little bit more smooth. So again, all of these changes so far are great to see. Weapons, spells, I mean, there's a ton that went into this patch. Bosses, now there are a lot of direct changes that were made to bosses in terms of adjustments to the AI, actions at the start of battles, all kinds of things. Reduced damage dealt by lightning attacks for certain bosses. Some of these bosses they buffed pretty heavy, I believe, and some of them they kind of nerfed a little bit. But I think all of these changes for these bosses were very much either needed or very much positive changes. Right? They didn't break any bosses by doing this. They just made adjustments that they needed to make. And overall, for a 2-week span, these are pretty impressive changes. Otherwise, they revised conditions for online matchmaking and improved certain conditions that made it difficult to match. I know I was having a problem initially with this anyways, and it was just kind of annoying to have to matchmake. But hopefully this now is going to be better because they made these changes and improved action synchronization in environments with significant online delays. So overall, these changes made the game a lot smoother. Weapon using and spells and everything they made a lot better, a lot smoother, a lot more timely. And overall, within 2 weeks of again me kind of taking a break from the game since I've beat it and explored most all of it, these are very, very, very positive changes, as well as all the major bug fixes that they've implemented down below that. And as you can see, these patch notes are pretty extensive because they made a wide variety of changes here that really are like I said, it's pretty extensive. They went pretty full force with these changes and made changes that I think the community wants, and just changes to make the game better and the longevity of the game. That being said, if you enjoyed this, hopefully we'll be seeing DLC for Wolong soon. Make sure to drop a like on the video and subscribe if you're new. Thank you guys.